Thank you so much for joining our session. If we can go to the next slide would you like to introduce? Okay, my name is Louisiana Gamboa, and I'm one of the food security advisors with Save the Children. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'll be presenting with my colleague, Colette Olivari. She's the second advisor for food security with Save the Children. Before we kick it off, I would like to tell you a little bit about what is this session about and the objectives and what would you hear in this session. During this session, you'll hear about successful food security programs in rural communities, obtain relevant resources to increase access to nutritious food also in rural communities, and learn about the challenges and opportunities. I will pass it over to Colette. Thank you.
Thank you, Louisiana. So to get us started, our guiding principle at Save the Children is to ensure that all children in rural America have a healthy and strong foundation to thrive as learners and in life. However, we know that children can't be hungry for knowledge if they're hungry for food. So Save the Children US, we got our foot back in the food security space after the COVID-19 pandemic. Since the pandemic, we have maintained and increased our presence in rural communities. One of our goals is to increase access to food, but more specifically, we want to increase access to nutritious foods. Our partners are grateful for any food that we can help provide. However, they regularly mention the desire to distribute fresh produce, and that is why we have a focus on proteins, fruits, and vegetables in our programming. A few programs that we have implemented are the mobile units for food distributions. This is one of our most important interventions because transportation is often a barrier in rural areas. In rural areas, there is often a lack of access to public transportation, if any. Grocery stores are often many miles away as well. Mobile units offer regular distributions, congregate and non-congregate meals, just to name a few. Mobile units are important because of that transportation barrier. Next are our feeding interventions. These are the traditional food programs where we provide funding to meet the practical needs of the community. This can be used for food, gardens or farming, backpack programs, and other traditional programming. Next, we have the cold storage grants, which I'll go into much more detail a little bit later. And lastly is our gift in kind work. We work with our corporate partnerships team to increase our food gifts in kind for our communities. We actively seek GIK to increase awareness, program reach, and program enrollment. Save the Children has programs in kindergarten readiness, home visiting, Head Start, and grade level proficiency. And often these gifts in kind can help increase participation and attendance to these programs in rural communities. So here we have a menu of the food program options that we support. Our communities can choose from these programs and personalize it to meet the needs of their community. Okay. And so next I'm going to show a video of some of our food work that combined a few different programs based in Batesville, Arkansas. So I'm going to stop my share real quick to put that on.
If your stomach is growling in class, you're not going to learn. To have them be successful students, they need to have all their needs met. We have school age, after school, everything in this building. And what it does is it allows families that work shift work to be able to drive up to this pantry. We have 5 bilingual educators that parents feel comfortable with when they face food issues. So we kind of meet them where they are, and we make sure that they have every resource they can be connected to, and we're going to give them food. We live in a rural community that not everyone has transportation. So we have a home visiting program where we have 14 home visitors that can take food boxes to those rural locations. Just because they can't come to the pantry can come to them.
The love and caring that they show from the time I drive up into the driveway to the time I leave. The children greets me, smiley faces, always with a gift in hand.
One of the things that this funding has allowed us to do is really make some good, nutritious food boxes. And we've been able to get fruit bags, fresh fruit, and these are things that kids don't always get. This pantry is so crucial to our district. We want our students to succeed and be successful, not only for our school district, but for our community as a whole.
Okay, so that's one of my favorite videos. Next slide. Okay, so that was a good shift to our next area of work, which is about cold storage. This year, we provided our priority states with a budget to increase the cold storage capacity in rural areas. This was done strategically by mapping the cold storage infrastructure in the states and using this budget to fill the gaps where we could. The cold storage grant ends in December, and this grant was primarily intended to increase the capacity of our rural partners to accept nutritious and perishable foods that they want to provide for their communities. We focused primarily on large walk-in refrigerators and freezers. And of course, we didn't just want our partners to get a refrigerator or just a freezer. We wanted to ensure that they had the ability to use their units efficiently and were allowed to use some of that budget to purchase accessories as well. Some of these accessories included items such as a forklift or building a dock. That is something they might need in the future. Next slide. So here on the slide, we're highlighting one of our partners that received the cold storage grant and the impact of the unit in the community. The partner is Omak Food Bank in Washington, and they received $15,000. So far, they've reached 450 children and have served just under $24,000 in meals. And it makes me really happy to hear that the food bank can now offer their community fresh produce as the result of this grant. Next. Okay. Cool. So now we are going into more deeply into our gifts in kind work. Part of our strategy in providing the cold storage grants was to help partners attain fresh produce to distribute. As we know, produce can be expensive to procure, and smaller organizations often rely on a large food bank and receive their food one or maybe a few times a month. Additionally, if the partner is one of the last to order that month, the food may be slim and not ideal to order. Therefore, we, as Save the Children, we also seek nutritious food gifts in kind for our partners with cold storage capacity. We prioritize fresh foods and healthier food options, such as whole grain bread, or a low sodium option whenever possible. As our cold storage units finish up and get running at the end of this year, we have the potential to grow our fresh food GIK for our partners. Oops. So here on this slide, I'm sharing some quotes from our community expressing their desire for fresh food. These quotes are important because they reflect the various barriers our partners and communities face in efforts to feed the community and their children. The quote on the bottom right really shows how far some families need to travel to get food, and unfortunately, some families may not be able to access that store if they don't have a functioning and reliable car. Okay. We are grateful for Once Upon a Farm, which is co-founded by Jennifer Garner. Once Upon a Farm has consistently provided 2 monthly GIK of fruit and vegetable pouches and frozen meals to 4 of our partners. Additionally, Land O'Lakes provided a one-time GIK of whole grain macaroni and cheese. This was a small win for us as they were willing to provide a nutritious option. They originally offered their regular macaroni and cheese, and we asked if instead they could provide the whole grain option, and to our joy, they agreed. This really showed us that there are businesses that value the quality of food that we provide our communities, and we hope that this type of GIK will continue. So, thank you so much for having me here today, and I will now pass it on to my colleague, Louisiana.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Colette. If we can go to the next slide, please. All right. Thanks, Colette. So now I'm going to talk to you about the mobile meal distribution. So this is one of the many ways we address those transportation barriers, very usual in rural communities. So in rural communities, children may have an isolated, aligned locations where they. And to address these barriers, we offer guidance to partners and also funding to address these barriers by connecting children to food right where they are. Okay, so I'm going to tell you just a couple of tips for success to implement this program. So first of all, we recommend engage strong partners in the community planning. Develop a budget. This could be for food, shelf-stable, or perishable. So first decide what are you going to use, and then design the routes. We use the guidance from the USDA routing tool map, and also staffing. That is a big thing, getting together volunteers in a community team. And also to conduct outreach to let the families know and create awareness of the program. Next slide, please. All right, so this is one of my favorite parts that I'm very excited to tell you about. So this is increasing access to, it's a food pilot that we did partnering with Amazon. This pilot was implemented from March to July of this year. So how did it start? We partnered with Amazon, a food bank, and a local pantry. The community, Save the Children, approached a community team who we do disaster relief and volunteering programs with. So what is our target population? Families identified by the FRISC coordinators in 4 school districts. FRISC coordinators, Family Resource Youth Service Center in the school districts. This was in Eastern Kentucky. Children of all ages were able to enroll to the program. So here is a little bit about who we partner with. Amazon provided the funding and the delivery. The food bank procured the food and prepared the food boxes. And the schools were the first coordinators were the ones that identified the families to enroll them in the program. So let me tell you a little bit more. If we can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so this tells us a little bit about the project goal, which is reduce child food insecurity by increasing access to those nutritious meals. I want to mention this was food boxes with perishable and non-perishable foods that were offered on the weekends and those holidays days that when the school was out of session. So this address transportation barriers, inadequate and non-accessible school meal offerings, and the lack of capacity for those food banks to deliver directly to the doorstep of the houses. So where to pilot? So this was part of the planning that I was telling you about, that is best practice for a successful project. The planning began in 2022 with a combination of factors, including high rates of food insecurity, county population density, and the percentage of households without a vehicle. So we identified nationwide 2 counties, Harlan and Bell County in Eastern Kentucky, were identified as highest need. So that was an ideal place to pilot a food home delivery project. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is a little bit about the project model. So it was a 22-week food box program that was implemented from March to July of each year. Each family received 1 box per week with 16 meals in total. And deliveries were made Tuesdays and Fridays and the day before the holiday, if that was the case. And this tells a little bit about the amazing number of children that were reached in just a few months. I think it's amazing how many meals were distributed as part of that strong partnership in community members. A big tip for success was how the school districts, which is a trustful source from the community, spread out the word and created awareness of the program. So if we can go to the next slide, please. Okay, before I go to the lessons learned, I wanted to tell you a little bit about the delivery process. So we had 3 refrigerated trucks who made the deliveries at the doorstep of the houses, 3 drivers, 60 to 90 deliveries per day, 99% of success rates delivering the boxes to the food boxes to the houses. Where is that 1% of what happened? So this was a lesson learned. It takes time to identify, recruit, and enroll families to the program. School districts sometimes need more time and resources to support the process. So I mentioned that the program ran in March of this year. So you can imagine the recruitment process was about a few months right when it's cold, right when there's snow in those roads. School was out because of the weather. So that was another challenge. The school was closed and the first coordinators had challenges enrolling those children. Routing deliveries in rural communities requires significant effort determining whether an address is delivered. There's a lot of houses that don't have the number to identify. There's a lot of houses where, well, a priority and a lesson learned is that we had to keep the delivery drivers safe. So dogs in the rural communities and rows who are you cannot go in those houses. So that was another lesson learned. Okay, if you would like to go to the next slide. And I believe this is the last slide that we have. So as we provide this session and this information, we like to make it a little bit interactive and to make sure we're not the only ones talking. So we have a few minutes before, and this is the last session before the break. So I wanted to open this space if you all can make any questions. There's a Q&A section. So if you have questions on how do we address those various more lessons learned, feel free to put it on the chat.
We have one question that came in. It says, do you offer a program for seniors in rural areas? So I'll let you take that one, Louisiana, with the Amazon program.
Okay, let me see. Do you offer a program for seniors in rural areas? Our main focus for the Amazon pilots was families with children. So ages 18 and under, as long as there were children in the family, they qualify for the program. Now, like I mentioned, the enrollment was directly involved with the FREEZE coordinators in the school districts. So that means that a child had to be in the household. But we had a lot of seniors who benefit from this program because in those rural communities, a lot of them are caregivers of these children.
Okay, thank you. And in our traditional programming, most of our programming does target children in programs such as backpack programs where it's done in school. However, some of our traditional food distributions are for families as well. So thank you for that question. We just got another question for Louisiana. How did you approach the local school districts to get them involved and support the program? Was it routed through the FRISC program?
Yes, so that's a very good question. That's a tip of success is to identify strong partners who those rural communities can trust. We didn't want to go out and say about the program, Save the Children, but we do have programming in those 4 school districts in Harlan and Bell County. So we approached the FRISC coordinator who worked directly and has a list of those families who can benefit of these programs. And first they send an interest form, not directly related to promising to be in the program, but flyers saying that information, what was the program about. And this was a very strong partnership. And I think this was one of the factors that made it successful. We didn't want to approach the families, but it was the school districts who, yes, the Family Resource and Youth Service Centers. Did that answer the question? Because I couldn't see it here, so I just heard it one time.
Yes, thank you. Perfect. We have another question. Is the cold storage grant still available to apply? It is not. We took applications last year and the grant period started January through December. It was a one-time grant for now. However, in the future, we hope to do something similar or sustainable such as that grant again. Let's see, we have another question. North Carolina is one of the states that received the cold storage grant as well. And feel free to email me if you want to learn more about the North Carolina work. My email's on the screen. I'm happy to chat about it. Okay. We have, would you be willing to share your documentation on contacts liability? We've considered tapping into school districts for volunteer support, but found liability concerns to be a major source of apprehension.
Yes, thank you so much for that question. So I'm part of the National Implementation Program, but let me check, and I will reach out. I will look for your contact information because that's a colleague of other department within Save the Children. So I will need to make sure what can we share, and we'll be happy to if we have to the green light from them. Thanks, Brittany.
Perfect. I'm going to go a little bit out of order. I'll get to your next question, Nicholas, but this one's off the Amazon as well, Louisiana. So how long did it take to partner with Amazon, and is it going to remain a pilot, or do you envision working with them on other projects?
Yes, so the partnership with Amazon has been going on for a couple of years. They with the disaster emergency program, so not related specifically with food security. And this was a pilot. We had a lot of learnings. This is depending on funding. So we're hoping to have funding to continue the programs. At this point, we are giving out this information to other partners who would like to replicate this program to give them ideas, and looking forward to either continue in rural Kentucky or go to target other states.
Thank you. So, Nicholas, you asked, are there trainings or helpful information on mobile unit food models and styles? We do have one-pagers for mobile food units and styles within our work that when our partners are looking at what intervention they want to provide for their community, we have one-pagers that list out what is needed for a successful implementation. Feel free to grab our emails and we can set something up to discuss further.
Thank you so much. I also see a comment from Frederick LeForge. So he put some information about a farmer truck for mobile market vehicles. So this is a great opportunity. This is one of the reasons why I love this summit. It's not only us giving the information, but it's a great opportunity to make those connections and get those resources, engage with other partners.
Okay. Can you tell us how many families were served and the cost of the pilot?
Okay, yeah, if we can, I think I had those numbers. Okay, so yeah, on the next one. No, the next one I think is, yeah, next one. Yeah. Okay, so we had almost 2,000 of children served, 948 households, and we also had 327,300 meals that were given out. I can tell you that the price per meal was about $3.50. Now, the cost of the program, it was a partnership of many community. Would that be specifically, we do have the price per meal, how many households were served, but like the general number of the total of the program, I will need to find out on that one. And I'll get back to you. I also wanted to mention this is an effort of a lot of many of the teams verticals of Save the Children. So there's a lot of information that I will not, I don't have it in handy, but I will love to just find out and give you the information if we have it available to share. All right. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have our emails, contact information. So I'll get back to those attendees who I owe you a response on your questions, and I'll be happy to follow up on that. And I think we'll pass it over to our host.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time and expertise today. I just want to let everyone know that there's still about 15 minutes left if you want to pop over to any other sessions. But up next, we have a 30-minute break. So check out the on-demand content or visit the sponsors' exhibitor booths. We'll see you back here at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific for your choice of one of the 4 sessions available then. To join one of these 4 sessions, click regular sessions in your navigation bar to the left of your screen. That concludes our time together. Have a great day, everyone.